No worries. Let's do it.
All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we have a Bay Area legend right here, right now on the line. We got the one, the only. We got Ras Kass. How you doing? How you doing this evening?
I'm good. I just got to correct you. I'm a SoCal boy, so I'm an LA artist. But a lot of people think that I'm from the Bay because I got a lot of friends and family here.
I do want to say my apologies on that, but like they say, you learn something new every day.
Very true. Very true. My friend.
But I gotta ask you, Raz, like, what made you decide to get into the music industry from the beginning?
I'm an accidental music person. I didn't really want to get into it. I was more of a fan. It was a hobby to like kind of make freestyle tapes. And just luckily for me, my older homeboys and kind of pushed me in a direction. They saw something I didn't really see in myself. They thought I was a good writer. Thought I was that I was dope, and they thought I had an interesting perspective. And so people like DJ Battlecat and Wino, who produced all of Coolio's albums back in the day. Those are like older homeboys that knew me, big bros to me, who kind of just, caught me at about 13, 14, and just said, recognized that I had a talent, and they really helped develop it. I had no plans. If you asked me back then if I wanted to be a rapper, that seemed like not a realistic goal. I definitely did not think I'd be a rapper.
And one thing I do want to ask is pertaining to that topic, like if you didn't actually pursue hip hop like everyone told you to, like where do you think you'd be right now?
Happier? No, I'm just kidding. No. No. Well, I've always had an interest. My first passion was I was a visual artist. So I went to basically the comparison would be the Fame High School in New York. I went to one in Los Angeles called Ras Kass, LA County High School for the Arts. So I went for visual art. I would have been drawing. I've always was a big comic book fan. So looking at what Marvel has done, in the films, I probably would have went into the computer animation, and hopefully I would have been over at Marvel, or same thing now. It's called Disney, but over there with Lucasfilms and whatever, and just creating some really cool, visuals. That the medium initially was comic books, and then as now you can have these live action, amazing Spider-Man. People fly for real. It looks realistic. So I'd probably be doing that. My other interest was always basically archaeology, history, zoology. So something in that, something in exploring, finding bones or studying, some cat, the snow leopard, and being somewhere in Siberia, and just learning that type of stuff has always been interesting to me. So yeah, it definitely would not have been. Like I said, I didn't foresee this. Basically I would have had a very lonely job. And not as much fun.
But I have to ask you as well, man. Like, one of my favorite groups that you're a part of is actually the Golden State Warriors. I have to ask you, what's the story behind the formation of that group, and how did yourself and the rest of the members meet?
Um, Saphir and I met separately. We met. He did a show opening up. This before I even got my record deal. So I met Saphir. He opened up for KRS-One time, and he just did such an amazing job. I wasn't aware of him prior to that. I introduced myself. I gave him a tape. I'm sure he threw it in the trash. I had a demo tape with 3 songs on it prior to me getting my situation. And then I met the Fear at the Wake Up show, and we hit it off pretty quickly. So me and Exhibit were hanging constantly by then. And I had only met Saphir that one time, and then we ended up on the same song on the Wake Up show. created that group, I had a show in San Francisco. Exhibit came with me, and its beer popped up and started rocking with us, and it was just a natural fit. And we decided we would, be this team that we thought our chemistry worked well together, and that was the Golden State was born.
And I most definitely agree. Your guys' chemistry within that group is actually phenomenal, man. You guys are you guys bring the heat. Let's put it at that. Let's round it right up to you guys bring the heat.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
And this is probably bringing you way back, but in 1996 you actually released your first album entitled Soul on Ice. I have to ask you, what's the inspiration behind that album, and what was it like actually, just recording your very first record and actually having that out to the entire world?
Yeah, man. So I was a little juvenile delinquent, and I was actually in juvenile hall. My mother bought me. The title is borrowed from a Black Panther, a former Black Panther book, and it's both the same title. So a man named Eldridge Cleaver wrote a book in the late 60s, called Soul on Ice, about his journey. It wasn't a linear book. It was really more about him talking about analyzing parts of his life, and the mistakes, the successes, the failures, racism. And so that book really, out of all the books that I had, that book really it sparked me. And I from that point on of reading that book, I remember thinking, if I ever had an opportunity to record an album, I would want it to I would want it to affect people, and I'd take the same approach. That it wouldn't be so linear. It would just be these little, different memories, whether it was positive or whether it was happy, sad, angry, confused, just to deal with, analyzing myself as a human. So that was the approach I took. Yeah, man, again, I didn't see that as a realistic possibility, but my friends, my big homies, my big bros, as soon as I got out, they put me right back on the track of recording, and I got this opportunity, to get a record deal, and yeah, of course, it was going to be Soul on Ice. I was like, this is my shot. I really wanted to be able to give my mother. At that time, we didn't even have CDs. I'm dating myself, but there was cassettes and vinyls, and I thought it would be really cool to have a vinyl with my voice on it to give to my mother. Like, this is me. And she always supports you, very supportive of whatever her children wanted to do. So we were able to dream big, and to even consider doing what I was doing. It was not, nobody in my family has ever done music. My family was all, working for, they work for the government, or, very, very, blue collar, people. So for me to say, hey, I'm going to be a rapper was just kind of far-fetched, and she supported it. So, I wanted to give my mother a cassette or a vinyl with my face and my voice on it, and I was able to do that. And, and actually inspired by the book that she got me, that, when I was, being a troubled, bad kid.
And when Soul on Ice came out, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was actually on Priority Records where you got that first record deal. And I have to ask you, man, what was it like being signed to one of the biggest labels of the '90s? Because Priority was a really big label. They had Ice Cube at one point. They had NWA as well.
Yeah, we had everybody, man. Actually, we had Jay-Z. Jay-Z's Feasible Doubt is a Priority Record album. We had Boot Camp Click, No Limit, the Master P and all of them. Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, NWA. So, for me, I thought the people who kind of were very pivotal in the evolution of the West Coast to me, I felt like they had been a priority. So I was trying to keep that tradition going. I felt that was NWA and Ice Cube, obviously, and then what Death Row had done with Snoop. And so I felt like I was an evolution of the West Coast MC, specifically LA. And, what I was trying to do was represent this new evolution, the lyrical, kind of street wasn't really it wasn't harmless rap. It wasn't it wasn't hippie rap. It was more hip hop based, but it was still street music. And I was and so I chose. I had options. Def Jam wanted to sign me. Rick Rubin would come pick me up. His record label was American Records. It was Def American, then he switched it to American. There was Priority, and there was one other label. I forgot who else. So I had like a bidding war, and I chose Priority because I thought to keep that tradition of the lyrical and the evolution of the West Coast MC. So for better or for worse, that's why I picked it. And it was, for me, it was all very surreal. I think things are a lot more accessible in 2020 with the internet, and you can kind of get an idea of what fame feels like a little bit because people become very, Instagram famous, and sometimes can monetize that and become famous and make money and get careers out of it. So we didn't have those opportunities. You either were on the cover of a magazine or on the radio or not. There was no middle ground. There was no trying. I have these many people following me on the gram. None of those were options. So you either got popular or you were not. And so for me to actually achieve that and have companies willing to put hundreds of thousands of dollars up to believing in what we were doing, that is always humbling and scary and surreal.
And also, you know what I mean, and it also just shows that even as a youngster, you were phenomenal because you had some of the biggest record labels doing a bidding war. You know what I mean? That's when you know that you have something that everybody wants, man. And I have to say, Priority was most definitely a good choice because at that time they were scooping up everybody. Everybody within hip hop was going to Priority Records.
Yeah.
And also, one thing I noticed as well, because I'm a huge fan of The Sopranos, so when I was watching it one day, I remembered this like it was yesterday. One of your singles off your Van Gogh album was actually in an episode of The Sopranos, and I have to ask you, how does it feel knowing that one of your songs is in a hit TV show that's still watched worldwide today?
Yeah, man. That was I was already watching. I remember watching the first episode of The Sopranos, so far be it that I thought I'd make, licensing and be in an episode. So that was really, really cool because there were so many other, that was through Priority, and obviously they pitched some other stuff, and those, with way more popular, more record sold artists, and my record actually was the one they picked. So I felt like, that again, just in making good music helped because I was not I wasn't the star player at Priority. Obviously, like we just mentioned, there were so many, the Snoop Dogg's and Ice Cubes and Westside Connection and Master P. So for me to even be chosen, for the music director to say that's dope, I want that in there. It's always great, man. Sometimes I feel like being the underdog is the motivation sometimes, and it's rewarding when people recognize, the hard work.
And also, before we move off the TV entertainment industry, that part of things, you were also in a movie with King T, Domino, and Hutch called Brotherhood. I have to ask you, how did that come to be for you, man? And what was it like actually being in a movie?
Oh man, I'm actually, that was kind of the early beginnings of people doing these independent, street movies. So, it's kind of funny. They reached out, and I'm not the best actor, but neither was Will Smith when he first started. So, you got to start somewhere. Yeah, man, they reached out. It was kind of cool to play. I was a hitman in that one. So, yeah, man, it was fun. I thought you were gonna say there's another one. I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's pretty funny. It's called like the Blair. It was like a spoof of the Blair Witch, and Paul Rosenberg, Eminem's manager, is because M's in it too. And then I remember Paul hit me like, "Hey, they're paying this much money to do this thing with this Blair, the Blair Witch movie." I look forward to even more in the present.
And also, when you said like when you were talking about I probably had another movie on the list, I do, but I have to say it's not the Blair Witch one. I actually have not seen that one. But in '98, you were actually in a movie called I Got the Hookup. I have to ask you, how did that come to be for you? And of course, like what was it like doing that role?
Well, all those Master P was my label mate, and obviously totally different genre of music. It's all rap, but definitely different than what I make. And he was top dog, man. Master P was selling a lot of records, but he was such a nice guy to me, man. He just always showed me a lot of love. Um, you know, I was I was on the younger side of the label mates. The other guys were like the older homies, the Jay-Z's and Stoops and them. So he's like the young dudes. They're like the JV and they were the varsity guys, so to speak. And so he was the, varsity dude. He just would always give me, like he put me in a couple of movies, man. He just, would be like, yo, you want to, like, you want to, you want to do or something? I'm like, yeah, why not? So it's really nice, man. I always say like Master P is, he's always been a really nice human being to me. Sometimes some people aren't as the whole Ellen thing where people act like they're really nice, but kind of behind closed doors are kind of mean. Like he was always a nice dude, man, and I really appreciate and respect him for that. He was always, when he was like on top of the world, he just was always so a super cool dude, man. Salute, hats off to Master P.
And especially when like if someone like Master P, he is like actually good at everything. I don't think there's anything he hasn't touched that hasn't turned to gold. Like he was a basketball player. I think he has his own chip brand now as well. Like
Right.
I think he played for the Toronto Raptors as well. And a lot of people
Yeah.
don't even realize that he was he was actually a basketball player for the NBA.
Yeah, man. He does everything he touches turns to some money. So yeah, man, and it's probably a lot to do with he does have he's just a really nice guy. Like he's a guy you walk away from and you're like, hey man, that dude's cool. Like I like him. He's a cool dude.
And also, you were a member of the hip hop supergroup, the Four Horsemen. I have to ask you, tell us the story behind that group formation and like what was it like being part of that group?
Well, so there's a wonderful lady named Wendy Day. We kind of call her the angel of hip hop. And Wendy had something called Rap Coalition. Rap Coalition was basically they still do, but essentially what they would do is uh, they talk to artists, like they talked for Eminem when he was in a bad label situation. They talked to The Lot when they were in a bad situation. They talked for UGK. They talked for David Banner. They talked to Ras Kass. They were advocacy for artists, for hip hop artists, because sometimes we got put these really bad record deals. So she started doing this thing called Rap Olympics, and there was a battle. So there was going to be a battle of like known MCs, signed MCs, better yet, not known, but signed MCs. And so there were 4-man teams, and I had a team. I think Redman had a team. It was like 5 teams. Like probably 5 to 10 teams. And so when I was putting my team together, I got cannabis. And then I remember Corrupt called me. He was like, "You want to be on my team?" I was like, "Well, who's on your team?" And he's like, "Well, I want to get cannabis." I was like, "I already got cannabis on my team." He's like, "I got Killer Free." I was like, "Well, that's the team right there." So we just made our team. We folded our team into us 4. Long story short, a lot of the signed MCs pulled out of the battle because it was signed and unsigned artists for this battle, and we decided not to do it because it just kind of wasn't worth it. If other signed record deal having rappers didn't do it too, we just felt like, we kind of wanted to like go at our signed peers, whatever. But from that is the chemistry was there again, and we just decided, hey man, we may not have had the opportunity to go battle, but we should put this on some records, and that's what we started doing. And yeah, man, it was just it's always a journey, man, a pleasure. We're kind of the prototype. We are the prototype, and I say this in a respectful and loving way. We are Slaughterhouse. We are Slaughterhouse before Slaughterhouse. So we created that, taking lyrical MCs from different cliques and putting them all together to become something even more. But we couldn't get it together. It's hard having a group, and so we could never quite get the music out. So salute to Slaughterhouse, who pulled it off and got it done. And I think 2 or 3 albums, and from there collectively, they were able to increase their brand, their notoriety as a collective, and then to go back out and become even much more visible as individuals. So we kind of set the pattern, but they started what we finished, so they did way better than us. Somebody else actually got it done.
And I also remember, I think it was around 2003 criteria, the Horseman Project, man. I remember when that record came out, man. That album was absolute fire by the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, the problem is it wasn't done yet, and so that was what always bothered me, is like somebody would leak the stuff out, like so you like there's the rough draft of something, and then there's the finished, polished idea, and unfortunately we never really got to have those things happen because the music would get out. Yeah.
I had no clue that was a leaked version, because I remember I still listen to that on YouTube, man, like it's going out of style. I had no clue that was actually unfinished.
Yeah, man, we had plans, and we just always somebody would leak the stuff out, and I'm like, why? So yeah, that stuff was. There were more songs. There were things that for the mix, just stuff. Unfortunately, you do what you got to do. You just deal with it. But it could have been better. We had a vision of how we wanted it to play out, and obviously we would have wanted to shoot some videos and all that. We never got a chance to do all that stuff.
And like jumping ahead in the timeline here to the present, you recently released the album Soul on Ice 2. I have to ask you, what's the inspiration behind that record? And of course, Raz, where can our listeners buy or stream themselves a copy of your brand new record?
Well, all platforms. It's definitely it's literally anywhere. So you can go on YouTube, you can go to Spotify, whatever, iTunes. But the reason why I did it is that I started working on my first album. There's all this corporate garbage that comes up, but my record, I started that record early 2005-ish. I'm sorry, 1995-ish, something like that. Maybe even earlier than that, maybe 1994. So for me, I kind of felt like it had been 25 years, kind of this whole journey, and I just wanted to celebrate that no matter what. Actually, it was, for one, it was celebratory of being able to say I'm alive and I'm here to acknowledge that I've had a great journey. There's peaks and valleys, but I'm really grateful for the journey because unfortunately, Nipsey Hussle can't celebrate his album. He's not here. Or Tupac, or Eazy-E, or a Big Pun, or Fight Dog, or Jay Dilla. So that's sad, and I'm grateful that I'm able to be here of sound mind and body today and be able to say, hey man, this is what we did. All these people helped me come together to make this album Soul on Ice. And so that was part of it, to be able to be grateful that I'm here to in this journey. So that was part of it. The second part was it's a love, it's an homage to the girl that I fell in love with, hip hop. I make hip hop feminine. Maybe that's wrong, but I did. So anyway, that she gave me this opportunity. It changed my life. I traveled the world. I met some of some of my best friends through this journey. You know, I've rock stages around the world. Like it's just been, it's been awesome. It's been, been crummy sometimes too, but for the most part, it's just a love letter to hip hop. And the third part was to do some, I wanted to kind of, after all this time, I wanted to analyze, take some inventory, compare and contrast. And I wanted to, listening to the first one after, I probably haven't listened to Solo Life really in like 10, 12 years. I just wanted to listen to it, and I wanted to analyze, like, what do I think differently, or what would I have changed, or what is my, has my philosophy changed? Because I consider real good music time capsule. I mean, when you're just, like, making, a dance song, nonsense records, it's pretty much just dated by, when it comes out. But when you're, like, a Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, those types of records are timeless, because you're talking, and when you're dealing with humanity and you're dealing with love and betrayal and social political things, those are things that the time capsules about how you felt. And so I wanted to analyze, where am I now? Like, do I feel the same way as I did when I wrote, that 17-year-old boy, that for Soul on Ice? Does he feel the same way? And did I find other information that I can prove that my opinion completely switched? And so that's what it was about, was contrasting the journey.
And also, on October 2nd, so in a few months, I probably got COVID-19 permitting, of course, but you will be performing at the Gathering record release party with other artists such as MC8 of CMW, Planet Asia, Fashawn, and others. Can you tell us a bit more about that event? And of course, if tickets are available, where can our listeners get some tickets to come see the legendary Ras Kass perform?
Yeah, man. The Gathering is actually a project. So the project it's all exclusively produced by my man Sir Veterano. Veterano has produced for me for over 10 years, so he's on lots of different projects. He's on Solo Nights 2. He did the song called Light Power, featuring me and Immortal Technique. But that solo album, his producer album, and everybody performing is on the album. So what they wanted to do is just give us an opportunity to showcase the project. We're still hoping, we're crossing our fingers, COVID permitting, like you said. We'll be out there rocking, man, and supporting our brother, who's an amazing producer.
And I have to say, I really do hope you guys get back up on the stage, man, because this COVID-19 is really hurting the music industry nowadays.
It's definitely hurting the shows. It's hurting the shows are pretty much non-existent. Unless I've seen people be very creative, and I like what Kwame was doing, and a lot of the DJs, they've had some cool things. I like the versus thing, so it's forced people to be creative. But I definitely love going to, not necessarily my shows, but I just like going to a dope hip hop show and having a drink and watching that guy perform and hearing the speakers and the loud music and the ambiance and the people, and the energy. That has not been a reality, and I don't know when that is going to be a reality. At the rate that America's going, I have no idea when this, not safely. I have no idea when that's going to be a thing. So, yeah, it sucks, man. Just that fellowship, things are fun sometimes when there's more people.
I most definitely agree. Down here in Canada, they're starting to do concerts, but they have like plexiglass all across the stage, and I'm kind of just sitting there. I'm like, I'd rather just wait till it's all over. They had a Canadian hip hop artist named Chalk Claire performing, and I saw the whole setup. I'm like, nah. I'm just gonna stay home. Like no one wants to stand at a concert and be in front of plexiglass. It's weird. Feels like I'm in a hockey game or something.
Right. Wow.
But I gotta say, Ras Kass, what's next for you, though, man? Is there anything else? Is there anything else I happened to miss during this interview that you still want to promote, but we still have you here live on the radio?
Yeah, you guys just be looking out soon. I have a new project. I don't even want to say the name of it, but just be looking for new music and new videos and some feature classic hip hop production in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So find me on Instagram at RAS_KASS. I'm checking. We got some amazing stuff coming soon.
And I gotta say, Ras Kass, again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to come on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM here in Canada, man. It truthfully was an honor. I personally grew up with your music. This was most definitely on my bucket list to interview Ras Kass, so thank you so much. And also, thank you for the years of amazing hip-hop, man. You did wonders for the culture, and you're still going at it, man, so I'm looking forward to your new projects as well.
Thank you, brother. Let's do it.
Most definitely. Thank you so much, Ras Kass. Be safe out there, and I'm looking forward to your newest projects. Thank you so much again.
No. All right, take care. Peace, everybody. One love.